almost forgot to do this. It's going to be so important for the final video. So I'm going to go ahead and do a temperature check right here on her butt. Hey guys, welcome back. It is currently 22 degrees and it is about to get pretty cold here in a couple days. We're going to hit about -12, and that is pretty cold for my area. I know maybe if you're watching this from somewhere else, that's not cold for you, but for where I live, that's pretty cold. So I thought I would make a video today all about how, sort of a general overview of how I prep the horses and the goats for these more extreme temperature changes, and also more specifically how I use blankets in a very appropriate way to help cut my hay cost down during these temperature extremes. And I'm sure if you're watching this video and you own livestock in general, with this economy, any money saving tips are usually appreciated. So let's get into it. Step number 1 on cold weather prep is I'm gonna top off the water trough inside the barn. Our house is really close to our barn. It's maybe 30 to 40 feet away. So we have a freeze-proof spigot on the outside here, and I use a flexible hose that when I'm not using the hose, I take this inside the house. So I've got this all hooked up. I'm gonna throw it over the fence, take it into the barn, and get that going. It helps when you remember to turn the hose on. Anyway, now we're ready. All right, water tank is filled, and I just want to quickly show you the tank heater that I use. It's a submergible one from Tractor Supply. A tank heater to me is just invaluable. I understand that some people do not have electricity available at their barn. Gosh, I feel for you guys. But if at all possible, my advice is get one. They are so worth it as long as you're using a proper grounding system. You keep your outlets clean, all of that. Check your water, obviously, daily. You shouldn't have any problems. In my mind, water that does not freeze is more important than the very, very small risk of a fire, just because I know so many people who horses have gotten colic in temperatures like we're about to get because the water's frozen. The horses don't want to drink the cold water. They can't get to the cold water. So their water consumption is down and they end up getting things like compaction colic. And I see that more often than fire. So for me, I understand there is a risk, but it's worth the risk because this is more important right now. Step number 2, we're gonna poop scoop the barn. Got my trusty manure bucket and my pick, and obviously I poop scoop the barn. By the way, I call it poop scooping. I know some people call it mucking out, some people call it picking. I like poop scooping, so whatever. I'm gonna get all of the, manure piles and stuff that I normally do, but I'm also gonna pay special attention to any wet bedding. All moisture, I want it out of here to make sure that everything is nice and dry for maximal warmth. Okay, finally finished. I'm exhausted. I got the barn all cleaned up. I had one extra bag of shavings that I put right here, but I'm gonna have to make a trip to Tractor Supply to get some more shavings to put down. Step number 3. Look at all the snow on my head. I think we're on step 3. I don't know. Obviously, food, forage, super important. So here we are in my hay shed. We picked up a load of hay yesterday. I buy my hay from 2 different farmers. I'm just a big believer in having variety. So this is just a mixed grass, and this stack over here is from a farmer who grows orchard grass and timothy. And in addition to that, I keep, this is during the winter, I keep one bale, these things are heavy, a compact bale of alfalfa that I pick up from Tractor Supply. And I will feed that in addition to the other hay, not a lot of it, but just a little bit mixed in with everything when the temperatures get really cold, just because alfalfa is a much richer, more nutrient, calorie dense forage. So the horses and the goats benefit from that. Hey guys, it's actually the following day. I just had no time to finish filming yesterday. It was just super busy trying to get ready for the cold. I did go to Tractor Supply, got a bunch of bags of shavings, put those down, so we've got a nice thick layer of bedding here in the barn. Gates are closed, so everyone's inside now. Blankets are on, but before I go over sort of my how I blanket everybody protocol, I want to quickly show you our goat houses that we have here inside the barn. That it's more of a goat run-in, if you will. We have one in each corner for each goat, and they are insulated, so the goats have their own special space to go into when things get really cold. So I want to show you that really quick. We basically made a corner run-in shelter on each corner of the barn for the goats, and these are insulated, so you can see the roof insulation up there, and there's a ton of bedding in here. I actually did about 6 inches of straw, and then I kind of packed that down, and I put a full bag of shavings on top of that they can kind of burrow into and keep themselves nice and cozy. And these work really well. And what I'll also do, just to kind of entice them to go in, is back in this corner here, I'll throw a flake of hay in there so they can just go in, they can lie down and munch while they're napping. And I've got one on each side here, and the goats love them. They're not using them right now, they're actually out eating hay, but yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that really quick. Peach is currently wearing her 300 gram blanket, 200 gram hood. And yes, even the goats have blankets. These are actually mini horse blankets. The brand is Gatsby, and they're really nice because they actually have a belly band. And then I found mini horse neck hoods. These are insulated too. Tough One brand. And they fit them perfectly. I got them size small, and they attach to the blanket. Sorry, okay. And you can see Lois over there. She's wearing hers as well. And then Ernie, here he is. He's wearing his 300 gram blanket. Ernie, say hi. Hi. And he has his insulated hood. Everyone has hay. So that's what we are looking like currently. So let's talk all about blankets and my blanketing protocol. Really quick though, before we get into that, I just want to stress to you that before you would even consider blankets, make sure that you did everything that I did prior to this. Make sure you've checked all of those boxes before you worry about blankets. You know, your animals need to have water that's not frozen. They need to have access to the proper amount of food, forage. They need to have a shelter to block the snow and the wind from them, okay? Those things are way more important than blankets, okay? However, blankets do a wonderful job of keeping horses and goats warmer than they would be if they were not wearing them. And I can prove this, and I will in just a short amount of time here. Before I do that, let's get into the actual protocol. So horses have a comfortable temperature range of, and this is fairly widely accepted, you can go on Google and look this up, about 18 degrees Fahrenheit to 65 degrees Fahrenheit is their sort of comfortable temperature body range, where they're not expending extra calories to either warm themselves up if it's cold or cool themselves down if it's too hot. And then what you would do is, if your temperatures drop below that 18 degrees, again, this is sort of a widely accepted rule, look it up for yourself, is you want to feed about 1% more forage for every 1 degree below 18 that the actual temperature is, okay? So if it was 17 degrees, you would feed 1% more ounces, pounds, whatever, of forage to your horse. And that is 1% more of the weight of the feed that you would give them. You don't add another percent to their body weight percent. Like, basically what I mean is, when you feed 1,000-pound horse, the proper amount of forage for that horse is 2% of their body weight, roughly. Okay, so you wouldn't go 3%. You would take that 2%, which would be about 20 pounds, and you would add 1% more to that 20 pounds. Okay, that's how you would work that math. Now, what I do, instead of feeding extra forage, I utilize blankets to keep my horses above that 18-degree range so that they're not expending extra calories, therefore needing extra hay to keep themselves warm. So there's a small initial investment to purchase a blanket for your horse, but I've had the same blankets now for several years, and I can pretty much tell you that I purchase the same amount of hay in the winter as I do in the summer. We don't have a lot of grass here even in the summer months, so I pretty much feed hay year round, and it's about the same. And I'm fairly certain that it's not the case. That is not the case for a lot of people. A lot of people are spending a lot more money on hay during the winter months. Okay, so here is my chart that I have made, and let's go over it really quick. All right, so temperature outside. If it is less than 20 degrees, my animals get a blanket. Now, if you are going to blanket your animals, that means you are going to take away that animal's ability to pop up their fur, the hair on their skin, to trap air, which insulates them. Okay? You take away that ability because the weight of the blanket will smoosh their hairs down. So you have to make sure that right off the bat, if you're going to do that, if you're going to blanket your animal, that blanket better be heavy duty and very warm. If you go and put a lightweight blanket on your horse when it's 18 degrees outside, and you smush their hair down, and they only have 100 grams of insulation, you will make them colder than they would be without the blanket. Okay, so I go right to a 300-gram blanket. That's considered a heavyweight blanket, and that would be my advice to you, is to do the same. All right, if it is under 10 degrees, they get the 300-gram blanket plus a hood. If it is under 0 degrees, they get 300-gram blanket, they get a 200-gram hood, and they get a stable blanket underneath of the 300-gram blanket. And that is for the horses and also the goats. They all have the same clothing attire. Now, there is a lot of nuance to this. I break these rules all the time, okay? And just a quick note, please do not just take this as, the be-all, end-all and go and implement this for yourself. This is what works for me, okay? I know my horses. I know how they react to the cold. I know that if I do this, they're not going to be out there sweating and then shivering because they're wet. You have to find out what works for you, all right? And I break these rules all the time, and let me explain why. So the temperature, let's use 18 degrees, for example. So if it is 18 degrees and it is bright and sunny outside and there is 0 wind, they are not getting a blanket. They don't need it. Really, the wind is your enemy more so than the cold, okay? And where my barn is positioned, we have a very large field to the west of us, and the wind just rips down there. So blanketing for me really is essential because we get a ton of wind, and wind will zap a horse's warmth really quick and to go. Okay, so it has to be 18 degrees, kind of overcast and pretty windy, then they get the blanket. Same thing with here. Like if it's under, let's say it's 9 degrees, it's bright and it's sunny, there's no wind, I might even let them go without a blanket even then, because I really want them to get that sun. You know, getting sun in the winter months is so important. Now I will put a blanket on them at night just to keep them cozy. Okay. If we're under 0 degrees, even if there's sun, they're probably still going to get a blanket and a hood at least. I may be able to forego the stable blanket, but yeah, I mean, if it's 0 degrees, it's pretty darn cold and I want them to be comfy. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is you have to really just go day by day and assess your situation. Wind is the enemy more so than the temperature, okay? So for all of these temperatures I've written down, again, it has to be that temperature plus at least a moderate amount of wind. Then I will do the blanket and the hood and all of that. If there's no wind, I'm changing the rules. Last night, right before I put the blankets on the horses and the goats, I did a temperature check. So I want to insert that clip right now so you guys can see what their skin temperatures were last night. I almost forgot to do this. It's going to be so important for the final video. So I have a laser thermometer here, and I've done this before, okay? And this is how I kind of prove my science, quotations, if you will, on why I really do believe the blanketing is kind of the way to go with horses in really cold weather. So I'm going to go ahead and do a temperature check right here on her butt. Okay, I'll put this up here so you can see. So I'm about 3 inches away, and she's registering about 22 degrees. Hey guys, we're gonna finish up this video by rechecking Peach's skin temperature with my laser thermometer. And just to prove how cold it is, it's currently 2 degrees. I have no idea if you're gonna be able to see this thermometer or not. I don't know. I can't see my screen right now, it's too dark. But it does say 2 degrees. So let's go check her really quick in the same spot. Okay, hopefully you can see this. 68 degrees. Wow, right? That's pretty awesome. So last night it was, I think it was 22 degrees, and she was reading, if I remember correctly, 22 degrees, I think was her skin temp. Now she's 68. So she is nice and cozy. There's no risk of her sweating when she's that warm. She's just a cozy girl. Like, this is room temperature for her. And yes, they still have hay. I feed them, you know, their regular amount of hay. I don't want you guys to be misled into thinking that because I blanket them, I feed them less hay. That's not the case. They're pretty much fed free choice hay. It's just that they tend to eat the same amount as they would in warmer weather because they're wearing blankets. So hope you guys found that interesting. I think it's pretty awesome. I mean, I'm team blankets, so if you don't agree, that's okay. It works for me. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.